Most businesses are doomed to never have qualified leads. See, I run a marketing agency out here in New York City, and working with businesses, that's always the number one complaint I get during sales calls. You know, I've worked with an agency before, and they didn't bring me qualified leads. Right now I'm frustrated because I don't have any qualified leads. And if that's you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a different mindset, a different paradigm to look at it, so you can develop processes that always get you qualified leads on demand and can finally stop the fight between marketing and sales, right? If you're a business owner, you probably start off in sales, right? I think I read a statistic that it was like 70% of the Forbes list billionaires start off in sales, right? And whether or not you start off in sales, if you're a business owner, you probably can sell your product the best, right? And there's always been tension between marketing and sales. It's actually the complete most idiotic thing ever, right? It's the equivalent of mommy and daddy fighting and wanting to stay together for the kid, right? You'll hear stuff like this, right? If you ever had parents that went through a divorce, or parents that, you know, for the most part, you wonder why the hell did they get married in the first place? You'll hear things like, well, you know, I don't want to get a divorce because I want to stay with the kid. Like, that's going to make the kid better, right? So when it comes to marketing sales, you'll have either two situations. Marketing and sales are always constantly fighting, going back and forth. You know, the leads suck, no, you suck. And they claim they want the business to get better. Or even better, you'll have a business that hires a marketing agency, and the marketing agency and the sales department never talk. Like, are you trying to get a divorce? And in business talk, are you trying to go bankrupt? Okay, so here's the deal. If you've ever struggled getting qualified leads, you know, through the internet or anything like that, it's because nobody ever taught us that marketing is just the amplification of sales, right? And yes, in a sense, that's oversimplifying it. There's something with branding and things like that. But the type of marketing I'm talking about today is direct response sales, right? Not ba 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 ba, I'm loving it type thing, right? That if you have $1 billion budget, you can leave this video. Because this video is not for the marketing director at McDonald's who is just looking to blow money for some type of tax incentive, right? If you're a bootstrap entrepreneur, right, or a marketing or entrepreneur with a limited budget, you have to understand this principle. It's that marketing and sales it's almost like a relay race, right? So if you ever seen Usain Bolt, or if you ever seen like the Olympics, and you have these guys do like the 400 meters, and one sprinter goes, and the next sprinter goes, and the next sprinter goes. That's how you should look at your marketing and your sales. So here's what I mean by that. If you have a limited budget, or you are just not a Fortune 500 company, right? One thing you should care about most out of anything is ROI, right? So when I talk to my clients, it's about ROI. How much money did you put out, and how much are you getting in? Now, that does not mean that every campaign objective is to get ROI. So for example, I work with a lot of medical clients, periodontists, chiropractors, med spas, things like that. And the problem with that is that there's no button on Facebook, there's no button on YouTube that says, hey, get me in front of somebody that has peripheral neuropathy or IBS, or get me in front of somebody that needs dental implants, right? Facebook will get in a lot of trouble for that. So sometimes we have campaigns that are like trying to get people to raise their hand. If you read a lot of these marketers back in the day, right, they'd have campaigns where it's like, just send me $1 and I'll give you 7 CDs. Because all they wanted to do was identify which addresses had people that would buy something like that, right? So sometimes we run like giveaways and a lot of free content, downloads, just to see who's in the market, right? Just to see who's in the market so we can get them on our pixel, not to make this a technical video, and retarget them. Now, that campaign is not optimized for ROI. that campaign is optimized for prospecting, right? We're trying to figure out who's in the market. Now, subsequent campaigns are optimized for ROI. Now, here's the thing when it comes to marketing, right? ROI-driven marketing. The sales and marketing team, the marketing and sales team, should be in a direct line to the end result. Okay? So think about it like this. This is Olympics, right? 400 meters. Or better yet, a better example is if you, I live in New York City, right? If you ever drove to Florida from New York, or if you live in Cali and you've ever drove to like Texas or somewhere far, right? You probably need like 2 drivers, okay? So here's how I think about marketing. The end destination, if I'm going from New York City to Florida, right? If I start in New York City, that's where I'm at in the sales process. Florida is the transaction of money happening, right? Now, when it comes to sales, the sales process never changes. First, you need to get somebody's attention. Then you need to hook them, right, with benefits, advantages, things like that. Then you need to shift paradigms, right? You need to change beliefs. This is both true in marketing and sales, right? Once you change beliefs, then you need to offer a unique solution, right? Also known as your thesis. And then you need to close on that solution. So it's a 5-step process. Get attention, set hooks, shift paradigms, offer a unique solution, close the deal. Now, here's where things get interesting. When I speak to most businesses, they say things like this. I want leads that have buyer's intent. And I'm like, hello? Do you think people just walk around with buyer's intent that just come into your business? Because if they did, they'd be with the competition, right? Do you think you could just run an ad and get people with buyer's intent just from the mere act of running an ad, right? So you have these business owners who hire you, or they might do Facebook ads, and they press Facebook boost button, and they're like, okay, buyer's intent, people come to me. And what I always say is that you have to understand this concept, right? It's a concept I always preach. You have to understand what a market is, right? So whether you're a chiropractor, whatever industry you're in, right? Whatever industry you're in. I work with tons of industries. Whatever industry you're in, this is how economics works. You have a marketplace, okay? A marketplace, there's millions of marketplaces, right? If you ever bought sneakers, there's a sneaker marketplace. Supplements, food, gardening, and the marketplace is galore, okay? A marketplace, all a marketplace is a group of similar people, but here's the kicker, who are distressed, right? So think about it from your own business. Would somebody buy your product if they were happy with their competition? No, they would not be in the market anymore, right? So even though this person is similar, they're not distressed. They're happy with the competition. So they're not going to do business with you, right? So when it comes to generating leads for buyer's intent, you have to understand that you're dealing with distressed people. Okay, so why is that important, right? So here's 3 tips on how to overcome this, right? To generate leads on demand, no matter what form you're using, right? I specialize in social media, YouTube, Facebook, things like that. But this is a strategy you can apply when we're freaking doing artificial intelligence stuff, right? Whatever. So here's tip number 1, right? Tip number 1, I already gave it to you actually, which is that a market is a place of similar people, but people who are distressed, meaning that they're not happy with the current solution. Okay, so if you want leads that have buyer's intent, you have to realize that these people are not happy. And what they're not happy with is the current solution, right? So for example, I just finished doing a Brazilian laser hair removal campaign. I knew nothing about Brazilian laser hair until I took on this client. Now I'm like the Brazilian expert. And the thing is, one of the biggest pain points in the market was for dark-skinned women, right? Dark skin, well, traditionally how laser hair removal works is that if you have, it works well because what it does is they put a laser over your skin, right? Where, let's just say you want to get the hair removed in the bikini area, which is down low, downstairs. What happens is they put the laser, and the laser is able to tell what's skin and what's hair because, quote unquote, hair is darker than skin, right? So if they see pale, if the laser sees pale with some darkness, well, they say, okay, well, the darkness has to be the hair strands, so I'm gonna zap that. Now the problem is if you're dealing with a dark-skinned woman and she's as dark as her hair, well, the laser starts zapping the skin. And that's a major pain point in that particular marketplace, right? So you have a group of women who want Brazilian laser hair removal, right? Because they want to go on dates and things like that. So similar people. But you have a subset who's distressed because they're dark skinned and the laser does not work with them. Okay? So tip number 2, you have to keep your ears to the streets, as they say. Right? You keep your ears to the streets. Now everybody listens to music. I'm not gonna assume everybody listens to rap, but one of my favorite musicians in the world, I'm talking about he's better than Mozart, he's better than Beethoven, is Drake. Okay? Now, I'm not gonna make this a whole digression on Drake and the greatness of Mr. Aubrey Graham, but one thing he has been criticized on in his career was like ghostwriting allegations. Now, to me, I think that's genius that he's running his business, well, his music, his music career like a business. Because if it was me, I'd have other people writing my stuff too. I want to go party, hang out in mansions, hang around with other celebrities. I don't want to write music all day. Have somebody else do it, I'd sing the song. But that's neither here nor there. But one of the things that they call him, right, in the rap circles is a culture vulture, right? They say, okay, well, he has friends around him that keep their ears to the streets for him, so he knows what's hot, and then he just copies what other people are doing. Right, so for example, there was a rapper called XXXTentacion who passed away, God rest his soul. And one of the biggest kind of blips in Drake's career was that he copied XXXTentacion's song, quote unquote. People are upset about that. But it was a hit song. It was a very popular song. Here's the thing. As a business owner, and what I found out most business owners don't do, is they don't keep their ears to the street, right? Everybody wants leads. Nobody wants to listen to the pain point of their customers. Right? Everybody wants leads. Nobody wants to listen to the pain points of the customers. And going back to relationships, it usually happens that way, right? You want your wife to respect you. But do you put down the toilet seat? Right? So you want something, but you're not willing to give her what she wants. Right? Yes, and I'm picking on you guys. And that's the reality. Like, you want qualified leads, but then when I ask you what they want, or what they're suffering with, you don't really know in detail. You see, when it comes to generating high quality leads, this is what any good copywriter will tell you. You have to be able to articulate the pain point of the prospect better than they're able to articulate it themselves. Or you're not gonna get the sale, right? If you look at, let me take this right here. This is a good book about like NLP, like persuasion. Things called like the Black Book of Persuasion. Any type of linguistic pattern when it comes to persuasion never starts off with the solution. Never starts off with the solution, right? And even there's a different book right here about TEDx talks, right? About TEDx talks. And one of the things that really stood out to me in that book was that one of the highest or the longest round of applause videos or speeches rather from TED, right? So the TED speaker who got the longest standing ovation, 60% of their talk was pathos, right? Was pathos, which means emotions. They spend 60% of their time speaking about emotions, right? Now, when I see most Facebook ads, it's about the deal. I'm like, you're commoditizing your business, right? Number one, not only is it not persuasive, like this, like this back, not only did you not start off with the problem, right? Or, I mean, not only did you, not start off with the problem, but it's not emotional, right? Yeah, like 50% off, okay. And you think that's gonna give you a qualified lead? Because guess what? Here's the last tip. When your prospect in the marketplace who's distressed tried their first, let's go back to the example of Brazilian laser hair removal. When they first tried it and got their skin zapped and became distressed, what do you think they saw to get in and try it for the first time? Probably like a 50% ad, right? When it comes to generating leads on demand that have buyer's intent, you have to give them something new and unique that they've never heard before, or else they're not gonna have hope in your product. Let me say that again. You have to give your prospects something new and unique, or else they're not going to have hope in your product, okay? So let me take you through one last situation here. You're sitting at a bar. Let's pretend you're a woman. You're sitting at a bar. And you just broke up with your boyfriend. Now your boyfriend also met you at a bar, and he used the pickup line, hey, where'd you get that jacket? I was actually looking for one similar to get my sister, right? And at first when you dated him, you thought it was cute, but he ended up being a player, right? So what you've done is you've tied that pickup line to the end result of being a player. So let's just say now you're single again, you're at the bar, and somebody comes up to you and says the same pickup line. Well, guess what? You attached that to the end result you had previous, and now you're not even gonna give that guy a chance. You see, what happens is a lot of marketers look at the competition. Okay, the competition's doing this, the competition's charging this. But what they don't realize is that in order to get leads that are buyer's intent, you wanna do the opposite, right? Abraham Lincoln said this one famous quote: I learn from everybody, but 90% of the time, I learn what not to do, right? So when you're doing your competitive research and look at the competition, you need to stop copying, and you need to be like, okay, this is what they're doing, I know what not to say, right? Because once you operate from that basic foundation, that a market is a place of similar but distressed people, everything starts to make sense, right? Everything starts to make sense, okay? So here's the deal, and I'll end off with this. Once you understand those 3 tips, you need to understand this, and this is going back to the sales process, okay? The 5 steps that I shared. Get attention, set hooks, shift paradigms, offer a unique solution, and then close the deal. Well, get attention, right? There's a lot of different ways you get attention. And one, you could cold call, or you can make an ad, right? Number 2, set a hook. Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can make bold claims in your marketing material. You can show proof, right? And then shifting paradigms. Well, and here's the deal. When I look at marketing and sales, the reason why they must communicate is because wherever, right, and this is going back to the trip to Florida, how I look at it is that marketing always starts the trip to Florida. Marketing always starts the trip. And depending on when I get tired is when sales takes over to get me home, right? So for example, if I make an ad that just got somebody's attention because it, and set some hooks, right? Get some benefits and things like that. Well, when the salesperson gets on the phone, they have a much further trip than if this prospect saw an ad, saw some videos and saw some benefits of the product, had their paradigm shift, and then were already aware of the offer. Right, you see what happens is that a lot of businesses are constrained. There's not a lot of resources, not a lot of time, not a lot of things in place to create the content they know that is needed. Because what they think is that, oh, I need money, right? Once I get more sales, I'll get somebody else to help me with content. I'll do that. So what they do is they focus on getting sales, right? But then they only want leads with buyer's intent. Well, here's the deal. You can't, sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Because if you don't have the marketing collateral, that's the equivalent of me driving from New York to New Jersey, right? If I have no marketing, right? And the famous saying from Peter Drucker, the famous Harvard business professor, said, the point of marketing, the purpose of marketing is to make sales superfluous, meaning to make sales non-existent, right? So if you're doing good marketing, if you truly want leads that have buyer's intent, well, the driver who started off in New York, he better get you to Florida, to the hotel, and stop the car. You get in the car right before the hotel parking lot and drive in the parking lot, right? As a salesperson, if you want to literally just get on the phone and take orders and literally just take credit cards, well, your marketing better be good, right? And as a business owner, you need to mediate that conversation, right? You need to say, hey, listen, our marketing budget's not here, sales team. Okay, the marketing budget's not here. We only have this to invest this month. So when you get sales, you're gonna have to take them a lot further, right? And then when you do that, I promise we'll reinvest the retained earnings into marketing. So as the time goes on and as we grow as a company, sales will have, you'll have less and less work to do. But don't make no mistake. If you're doing it right, sales and marketing should be on the same page. And it's how sophisticated and how much resources that you put into your marketing that determines whether or not your leads will have buyer's intent. Okay? So, in conclusion, number one, understand that there's a sales process and that marketing and sales are on that same process, right? So if you don't have that much marketing material, your sales team has to work harder. But if you do have video men, if you do have copywriters, then your marketing can take that conversation a lot further to the point where the sales department can just hop on the phone and take orders. But in order to do that, you need to know two things. Number one, that a marketplace is a place full of similar but distressed prospects, right? Which means that you have to acknowledge, right, going back to this back book, which means you have to acknowledge their pain points before you give them a solution so that they feel like you empathize with them. And then number two, what is your competition doing? So you know what not to do, what not to repeat, and what not to bring, how not to bring up the bad memories that they have of the past when they tried the competition and it didn't work, okay? So those are my 3 tips for you today, okay? So if you're a business owner and you are having those same things where, my sales department and my marketing department are going back at it, well, you need to mediate the situation and you need to say, hey, listen, these are the 5 steps of a sale, right? No matter if it's marketing or sales, these are the 5 steps. We only have enough resources to put into ads, right? We don't have a video person, we don't have a graphic designer, we don't have a web developer, which means that after the ad, we can't really take them through a series of videos or anything like that. So guess what, sales department? You're gonna have to take over here at step 2, which means that you're gonna have to bring all the way home. And as you get more money, your marketing should be able to take them to step 2, step 3, step 4, to the point where sales just hops on the phone and says, hey, where's your credit card? Okay? So remember, nothing with humans is as easy as it ever seems. But if you have a process, you can explain to your team what's going on so they don't get demoralized, right? Because there's nothing more demoralizing than a salesperson not understanding where they are in the sale, just thinking they can hop on and close when they really have a lot further to go, right? So if you guys understand the sales process, marketing knows where they're taking them, sales knows where they're picking up at, and it just is what it is, right? There is no such thing as buyer's intent, right? Everybody has buyer's intent eventually. Now it's just a matter of, is your marketing going to give them the buyer's intent, or is your sales going to give them the buyer's intent? And as a business owner, you need to make sure that they know who's responsible. or else they'll fight and you'll be the one end up losing. So I'm gonna stop this video right here. I hope you enjoyed it. And comment below, what's the one thing you're gonna do to make sure that your marketing and your sales department are communicating, okay? Don't be the business owner who's like the two parents fighting and trying to be together for the children, because the children end up losing, okay? Don't let that be you.